The moment that sentence left Dan Orlovsky's mouth, the entire NFC should have felt a chill. Because this wasn't some hot take artist fishing for clicks. This was a former quarterback calmly looking at the league and essentially telling everyone they're late to the party. When someone says the Bears are truly Super Bowl contenders, people instinctively laugh, roll their eyes, or dismiss it as TV nonsense. But that reaction is exactly why this warning matters so much. The Bears are not supposed to be here yet. They're not supposed to be in this conversation. They're not supposed to be making veteran locker rooms nervous or forcing playoff teams to reevaluate their margin for error. And yet, quietly, methodically, week by week, that's exactly what's happening. This isn't hype built on one flashy win or one viral highlight. This is the uncomfortable realization that the Bears might have found themselves sooner than anyone expected, that the year didn't wait for them, the moment found them, and now the rest of the NFC has to deal with it. Because once you cross the line from promising to dangerous, perception no longer protects your opponents. Preparation does. And right now, there are teams that are not emotionally or structurally prepared to deal with a Bears team that doesn't know it's supposed to be intimidated. That's why this conversation exploded. That's why Rams fans should be listening carefully. Because when someone with Orlovsky's reputation stops hedging and starts warning, it's usually because the film forced his hand. What sparked all of this was a broader conversation about overreactions, MVP chatter, injuries, and shifting playoff landscapes, but buried inside it was the most important takeaway of the entire show. As attention bounced from Josh Allen's MVP case to Trevor Lawrence's progression under Liam Cohen, to Green Bay's suddenly shrinking margin for error after losing Micah Parsons, the focus slowly drifted towards something far more dangerous: opportunity, timing, and a Bears team sitting in a position nobody penciled them into when the season started. The discussion around Green Bay was revealing because it exposed just how fragile even well-coached, talented teams become when one foundational piece disappears. Parsons wasn't just another defender. He was pressure. He was hesitation. He was entire sections of opposing playbooks erased before kickoff. Remove that, and suddenly quarterbacks get comfortable, coordinators get bold, and windows that never existed start opening up. That's the environment Chicago is stepping into. And that's why this matters right now. If you're new here and you want more of this kind of breakdown that goes beyond the surface and into what actually decides seasons, make sure you subscribe and leave a like, because this is where the NFL tells you who's real. The Bears being framed as ahead of schedule isn't an insult, it's a warning label. Sometimes you don't get the luxury of waiting until everything is perfect. Sometimes the league opens a door and you either walk through it or you spend the next 5 years regretting that you didn't. That's what Orlovsky was getting at when he talked about how sometimes the year finds you. Injuries elsewhere, confidence building internally, coaching clicking faster than expected. Those aren't excuses. Those are the ingredients of surprise contenders. Ben Johnson's first-year impact was brought up for a reason. When you hear analysts put him in the same breath as other first-year coaches who have accelerated offensive growth, it's because the Bears aren't surviving on defense alone. They're competing structurally, they're prepared, they're executing. And most importantly, they're not playing scared. When Packers players walk away from a game impressed with Chicago, that matters. When opposing locker rooms feel deflated, that matters. Those are the subtle signals that tell you a team is being taken seriously before the national narrative catches up. The Rams are at the center of this warning because of what they represent. Experience, quarterback play, playoff familiarity, and yet even in discussions praising Matthew Stafford, there was an undercurrent that revealed vulnerability. Great quarterbacks can elevate teams, but only within the margins they're given. The same conversation that praised Stafford also admitted the Rams would still be okay without him. That contrast is brutal when you flip it. Some teams collapse without their quarterback. Some teams collapse without their pass rusher. Some teams collapse when pressure shows up in January. The Bears right now are benefiting from everyone else's instability while building their own consistency. That's how paths open. When the focus turned to Green Bay's injuries, it was impossible to ignore how thin the line really is between contender and uphill climb. Losing a player like Micah Parsons doesn't just change third downs. It changes confidence, it changes how aggressively defenses can play zone, how much they can keep vision on the quarterback, how often they can jump routes because they trust pressure to arrive. Take that away, and suddenly quarterbacks like Jordan Love have to be perfect. No turnovers, no wasted drives, no mistakes. And perfection is a terrible thing to ask for in the playoffs. That's where Chicago enters the frame. A team that doesn't need perfection from its opponent to capitalize. A team that's comfortable turning games into physical fights, shrinking margins, and forcing execution. The upcoming matchup in Chicago was described as the biggest game of the weekend for a reason. Win that game, and suddenly the division isn't theoretical anymore. It's real. Home field implications become real. Confidence multiplies, and narratives flip overnight. This isn't about analytics screens or preseason projections. It's about what's happening in front of our eyes. Packers people were impressed. Rams should be concerned. Not because the Bears are flashy, but because they're solid. They don't beat themselves. They coach well, they hit, they compete, and they're learning in real time. What made this segment even more revealing was how casually the Bears were dismissed by broader metrics while being respected by people in the building. That disconnect is always dangerous. When teams don't show up on graphics but dominate conversations behind closed doors, it means the evaluation lag is about to correct violently. And corrections in the NFL usually happen in prime time, in cold weather, when mistakes are punished. Even the lighter moments of the show reinforce the underlying theme. Physicality matters, discipline matters, being coachable matters. When young players make mistakes and own them, that's growth. When teams respond to adversity by sticking together instead of fracturing, that's culture. Chicago is checking boxes faster than expected, and that's why Orlovsky didn't hedge his words. He didn't say they could be dangerous, he said they are. The most important subtext in all of this is expectation. The Bears are playing free because nobody told them they're not allowed to be here yet. Meanwhile, teams like the Rams and Packers are carrying the weight of expectation, injuries, and shrinking margins. That imbalance is where upsets live. That's where playoff runs are born. And that's why this conversation matters. Because once the idea that the Bears are real enters the bloodstream of the league, it changes how they're prepared for, how they're talked about, and how they see themselves. This isn't about crowning them champions in December. It's about acknowledging that they've crossed into contender territory whether anyone is comfortable with it or not. The Rams have been warned, the NFC has been warned, and the Bears, quietly, confidently, are walking into rooms where nobody is laughing anymore.